Welcome to my messy life. Take my hand and dive right on in with me. It's gonna be alright. Messy imperfect life with Leigh.
So I am here today with the super interesting, I was going to say beautiful, but there's something so deep and soulful and calm and soothing being around you. So I'm going to say the super soulful, calming, supermodel, super foxy, Gillean McLeod.
Well,
Welcome.
thank you, Leigh. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you for coming. Yes. I'm going to do a quick thing of how we met because, and it's so interesting too, how we screw ourselves in our minds, because I went to an event called Knockout Abuse. It was knocking out abuse for women, right?
Mm-hmm. It was a fundraiser.
It was a fundraiser. So of course I want to give back. So I went like table to table to look at everything. And normally there's nothing that really excites me, but I try and bid anyway to give money. But I saw this one thing with a Hollywood stylist. Is that what you're called?
I think so. I can be called many things.
Or is it a fashion designer? Or
wardrobe stylist mostly, but
wardrobe
I also
stylist.
do personal styling.
So anyway, I didn't know who she was. I didn't meet her at the event. I just signed up for it and I got it. And it was basically to have this Hollywood stylist come into your closet, my filthy, filthy closet, and go through your stuff and then help you throw things away, find out pieces that you're missing and all of that kind of stuff. So I got it. And then I did what I normally do. I forgot that I got it and I put it in a pile of stuff somewhere. And then I kept thinking, what was that thing I got? And I was like, Alicia, what was it? She's like, it's this, it's here. It's been sitting almost a year. I think you should probably use it. I was like, call that lady, book her. I want her to come. And I was also going through this new kind of wanting to refresh my life. I kind of just looked around and saw things cluttered in my bedroom and too much stuff everywhere. And so many clothes that I didn't wear, but I didn't want to even look at, right?
Yeah, it just becomes, you don't even see it anymore because there's just so much stuff. And if it's not arranged properly, then you'll never see it.
That's exactly right. Because, so anyway, she was coming over and we booked the appointment. Then my insecure mind started flogging me, saying things like, you're having a Hollywood fashion stylist. She styles the stars. She's going to walk in and go, what are all these TJ Maxx Target outfits? What am I doing here? So then I started panicking with my old, and usually I've overcome this, but sometimes when I feel really vulnerable, it creeps back in, not worthy or not good enough. And so I was like, oh my God, this beautiful lady's going to come. And I think she's modeling now and she's going to look at my stuff and laugh. And all of my shoes are boots. And anyway, I started spinning that I wasn't good enough. Isn't that interesting?
It is, but I think that that's a narrative that we all tell ourselves when we're maybe introduced to someone. We might have preconceived ideas of who they are and what they would bring, and the reality is that when I do these things for people, I have absolutely no judgment. I'm there to help them, and it's really fun for me as well. First of all, you get to know the person that you're working with, then you get to see what they really love, and then all you do is just help arrange and make suggestions, and now we've become friendly. And it's just so nice, it's a fantastic way to meet people.
It was, you were so disarming that instantly I got to let go of my bullshit stories that were trying to flog me. I was like, oh, I'm done.
And then we ended up telling each other life stories and having a lot of fun and sitting on the ground and this shoe no, this shoe yes. And
there were a lot of this shoe no's.
there were a few this shoe no's, but then they went to somebody or people who need them. So
absolutely.
And that's another way it's a way to give away parts of your life you don't need.
Yeah, it does feel good to give them someone who needs them. I got a little bit triggered because I showed them to my assistant and our housekeeper and they just kind of smiled. And I was like, you better start digging through there right now. And one was like, I can't fit into your clothes. And the other was like, I'm 5'10" and I have a size 10 foot and yours is 8. I was like, okay, I won't take that personally either.
No.
So we took it to the not the thrift shop. What's it called? Salvation Army.
Yeah.
Yeah. We took it to the Salvation Army and I was excited for the people who are going to get that because they have been worn with love.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them were
And
kind
then
of
some
cute.
of them were almost new too. I mean, you take really good care of your clothing, and you probably wear some of them just a few times, but you have them as backup for something, and now they get to be worn by people who are really desperate for something
Yeah.
pretty.
Yes.
So, and not always are there pretty things in the Salvation Army. You know, a lot of times you go in there and it's really discarded clothing that's very old and tired, and I think it's nice to be able to give away some new stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time, maybe we can try to find some. There's a homeless women's shelter downtown where they prepare women to go out into the workforce. So anybody that has clothes that are sort of more business oriented, like maybe a
Now,
suit
why
jacket.
didn't you tell me before I drove down the street?
Well, because I completely forgot about it actually. But
I did too. I didn't investigate. I just I think this is the place to go with.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to do more of a closet clean out. You don't know that I really got you here to lure you back into my closet. You think it's just for this. No, but one day I would like you to come back because it was with grace and ease how you work. Like literally we walked in. She's like, do you love it? Nope. And things, I mean, I think we had like 7 bags
We did.
of clothes, like the giant black trash bags.
But there were also a lot of duplicates too. And I think that one thing about having an overcrowded closet is that if you can't see what you have, you're constantly rebuying the same thing that if you looked a little deeper, or perhaps it was on the top shelf, it's already there. You know, I mean, there's only so many black T-shirts you can possibly have in a lifetime. So that's just an example. That I don't mean you, but
Oh, no, me.
I know I myself, I find myself. It's funny too. I also find myself when I'm buying clothes looking for sort of the same things. It's almost as though I have a uniform, and so I have to train myself. Like, no, you already have that. You don't need that. Let's try something else.
Yeah, and I never had thought of that perspective until you pulled out 17 gray T-shirts and you said, Leigh, you need to pick 2. And I was like, oh. And you were like, these kind of look in good shape and these looks like you've worn the heck out of them. I was like, then I'll keep those 2.
Yeah.
But I allowed myself before to be in a releasing mode, to not be attached to any of it because really none of it matters. Even though I went after we met and I went and got this white shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, have you seen the back of it?
No, I haven't.
I want to show you because it's so cute. Hold on.
I like the front of it a lot. Oh, that's so cool.
Isn't
yeah,
that
I
neat?
love that. And you have the body to be able to get away with that. It's
I'm
perfect.
sorry, I didn't hear that part.
You have the body to get away with that.
And that's one of
I
those.
sing too.
You are very talented. You are very. Anyway, it's such a blessing to have you help me be fresh and in my mind, in my space, in what I put on my body. And I also bought these because she was like, and these are a little, I'm sure, irreverent or whatever the thing is. Do you hate them?
No, I don't. They're very Cinderella-like. I really, I'm kind of loving them actually.
I like sparkles and magic. So anyway, I got these and I bought a really beautiful Ralph Lauren blazer at Marshall's. I got both of them.
Fabulous.
And they were both like really expensive pieces, you know, for cheap. So anyway, I wore them to speak in front of, what's happening? Hold on, let me get myself together here. I wore them to speak in front of 600 women. And when I showed up with these shoes on and this Ralph Lauren blazer, like 4 friends just belly laughed. And I was like, what? And they go, you normally wear jeans and your cloddy boots and a sweatshirt. And I was like, well, today's not a normal day.
Yeah.
Today I'm
Well, good for
speaking in front of,
you.
yeah. And I felt like a professional instead of going, and normally if I want to get dressed up, I'd put on my leather pants, you know, or something like that. But I was like, no, I'm going to wear my skinny little tapered jeans with these new sparkle shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a lot of compliments from people who didn't know me.
That's so nice. But you have a very, I like your style. It's very sort of rock and roll. And I love the idea of you in leather pants and some great sweater or blouse. I mean,
That's
it's
my
very
favorite.
you know, and it's basically clothes. It's whatever makes you feel comfortable. And this goes for everyone. There's no point putting on something that either, first of all, doesn't fit and then you're strapped in like a straitjacket, or that you feel uncomfortable and it doesn't feel like part of your personality. Then don't wear it, really, because it's not you.
Yeah.
And you'll never, and you know, you can never have the clothes being, unless you're going to wear comme des garçons all the time and just be crazy.
I don't even know who that is.
Well, we'll get you some. Yeah.
Let me make a little money first on my own so I can have my spare change. So I want to, because this is called the Messy Imperfect Life.
Yes.
I want to dive a little bit into something that was messy in your life, if you're open to sharing.
I'm very open to sharing. It's been almost a decade since this messy part of my life sort of arrived and disappeared. It didn't really disappear, but I had to deal with it. It happened around the age, I'm 63 now, and it happened when I was 51. And I got divorced after a 28-year marriage. Not married for that long, but I was together with my husband for that long. And, it was just one of these things where there's really no blame on either party. There were no extra people or any of, people love to say these things. Was there a reason? I don't think so. It was really that we just sort of grew apart. But regardless, there's a lot of fear associated with, first of all, being by yourself. And I was thinking about this morning, and I realized that when I was 4 years old, I went to boarding school, separated from my parents by about 1,000 miles, and I very rarely saw them. I saw them 3 times a year. I actually never lived on my own until I was 51 years old. I either was at boarding school until I was 17, then I had a flatmate, then I was married, and then I was by myself. And the first couple of days, I couldn't even sleep. I was so petrified to just be in my house by myself. And but then all of the other things happened, like I was so petrified financially. How was I going to do this? How was I going to keep my house?
Okay, can I stop and break this down a little bit? Because the first thing I heard when you were 4, you were shipped 1,000 miles away from your parents. So where were you raised?
I was raised in Indonesia and Malaysia. And my boarding school was on an island off the coast of Malaysia, an island called Penang.
So even your childhood sounds sexy. Because who the hell answers like that? I'm like, I'm from Kansas, and I live in Kansas City, and I kind of...
Well, now I look back on it, and it does seem very exotic. And
it does.
I was immensely privileged. My dad had a really good job. He traveled all over Southeast Asia. We lived in beautiful homes, and when I wasn't at school, and all of my friends' parents were doing sort of the same thing. I look back.
So it was just a norm at the time for you. It wasn't anything extraordinary.
I thought everybody lived like I did.
That's right.
Like out in the jungle, we had monkeys in the backyard. We played with pitcher plants. We used to catch all the little bugs and stuff in them and collect them. And we just had a marvelous time.
When you said that when you're young, you think everyone lives like that.
Well, it's all you know.
Well, because my mom, I think I told you she was kind of locked up in her bedroom, mentally ill. My dad was always gone. And we all just, ate scoops of peanut butter, or if our house cleaner made a tuna casserole or something, we would eat that, heat it up later, whatever. But we never sat down. We never had celebrations. We never had anything like this kind of thing. And I became best friends with a girl named Missy Carrico. And I went to Missy's house, and her mother's from the South and loves to bake and cook. And they were all Sunday morning in the kitchen together and laughing. And the dad's reading the paper and drinking coffee, and she's making stuff. And Missy and I are raising hell, out in the backyard. And then they all sat together for an hour and talked. And I was like, I literally was like, what is happening here? Because I thought everyone lived like I did.
Well, it's very interesting because you and I discussed this, that when we were in the closet together, that we had
We're out now.
We're out of the closet. And we're here.
To come out more.
But I also my mom also was, suffered from mental illness. And my dad worked so hard that he was always away. And so I had the same experience. I would go to friends' homes, and all of the family would be sitting around and chatting and talking, and they would all go out and do things. And that just didn't happen in our family. Even on our holidays from school, that wasn't something that was
Isn't
happening.
it a trip?
Yes, but then I realized that this is why I don't really enjoy holidays so much, is because I never really had them. And so it's hard for me to do holidays on my own. I've always gone to somebody else's house, it's it's kind of a foreign experience.
You're always welcome to come to my house for any holiday.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. But because I ended up with 5 kids, and I have to throw birthday parties 5 times a year.
Yeah.
Or 6 if I count Dave. But I kind of started just doing it, right? Because you have to.
Yes.
And then I kept doing it. And then all of a sudden we were baking turkeys and having people over and having sit down dinners. And I was like, oh, wait, I'm kind of creating what I was in awe of when I was young. So it's been really interesting for me. because I didn't even think about it as it was happening.
I certainly spent a lot more time with my son than my parents ever spent with me. And yes, we had zillions of birthday parties and always had tons of friends over. And I tried to make those, sort of special occasions. But
Yeah.
because I was always at school during my birthday, I never actually, my parents never were ever there for my birthday.
Oh my God.
So
Did you
it's
run
just-
to the door and say, Mr. Finnegan, did I get anything today?
No, it's funny. Sometimes I would get a telegram from my dad. So anyway.
Wait a second. What the hell is that like? I guess you don't know, but I sent my daughter to summer camp last year for a week to sleep away with my other two bigger ones. And she cried every night, my kids told me, and throughout the day. And she's going back again. But she was 7 and you were 4. Did everyone just cry their eyes out? Then you get used to this is my new home?
This is also something that happened at the age of 51. I hadn't really cried since I was about 4 or 5 years old because it was a sign of weakness at our boarding school that anyone would cry. So it got to the stage where we got to school and we never cried.
Yeah.
And so it took this life upheaval, big event change for me to actually sort of acknowledge that I did have feelings, of sadness and grief, and I was scared, and then of course there's hormonal changes that go along with it. So it was all sort of like a multiple whammy, of just like boom, here's your new life.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Here's your new life. I'm going to flog you with hormonal stuff
That's right.
too.
I'm going to mess you up.
You just said something that was like, me too. What was the first part of what you just said? Because then I got excited about the end. You said, oh, dang it. But whatever it was, I was like, oh my gosh.
You started off with crying, your daughter crying at
thank
7,
you.
me crying at 4.
That's exactly what it was. What a perfect prompt, because I did not take my ADD medicine and my little thought is falling into a pothole and I can't see it when I look down in here. So thank you for helping me with that. Oh my gosh, it just happened again because I started, okay, no, crying. So
crying, yes.
When I met my husband at 30, I had not cried. I ran fast and hard. I didn't need anyone. I was tough as nails. And then when we started dating, I started getting drunk and picking fights. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know what to do because I hadn't been in a real relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I just made out and ran. So I was like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, let's go to a therapist. And my mom was kind of a therapist from her bed to other people who really appreciated her. And she was spiritual, but not available to us that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, therapists are a crock of shit. Like, I don't want to do that. But I went. And then at the end, she's like, you guys are going to be okay. But Leigh, I'd like to see you by yourself. And I was like, I can't believe she said that. I'm not going to pay her money. And he was like, you might want to go back. So I went back the next time and I sat down and I was like, things are great. She goes, okay, tell me about this. I go, oh, and I just started crying. I didn't speak one word. I cried the 50 minutes.
Aww.
And then next week I went back, I cried 50 minutes. I was like, am I ever going to be able to talk? She's like, let's double up during this time. So we double up twice a week. And she'd say one word, I'd cry.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, Leigh, be gentle with yourself. You have 30 years of crying to do. And that's what made me think about you when you said you were in bed. After this big life change, after the foundation of what you thought your life was shattered.
Mm-hmm.
And then you curl up in a ball and start crying because it's so overwhelming.
It is. And I also sought the advice of a therapist who I actually enjoyed her company so much. I sort of had to part ways with her because I felt like all I wanted to do was hang out with her and chat. She's really fabulous. But she taught me so many tools, and I likened it to having like this little box of information, and I've relied on it over the years. I open up the box and use what she taught me, but she was the first to point out to me that the apart from the hormonal changes, but the crying and everything that went on for about a year, it's really the grieving of a whole lifetime. It's the grieving of being separated from your family young, the death of your parents, the death of a relationship. It's not really a death, but it's the end of a relationship.
It is the death of what you thought it was, the idea.
Yeah. And then again, I'm bringing this word back in because for me, this was really the crux of it all, was the fear I was terrified. I was terrified when I was a child, when I went to that school. There were snakes everywhere. There were scorpions under my bed. But a lot of my life was fear-based, and a lot of how I reacted to people also was fear-based. And it's just not that way anymore. And in the 10 years, as my life has really changed, and I'm the one that's made all of the changes. It hasn't just happened to me anymore.
Right.
My life was happening, and then I started making the things happen myself instead of just allowing this drifting.
There's this thought that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Yeah.
And I think that when we aren't receiving the messages to get us to our next playing field or to level us up, then we have to be knocked to our ass.
I actually am really glad that all of these things happened to me, because I don't think I would be the person that I am today. I don't think I would have the relationships with my friends that I have. I don't take anybody for granted. I don't take any interaction with other humans for granted any longer.
Me either.
And I seek out interesting people, and the people that I no longer find interesting or who don't value me as a human or another woman, I've let them
No
all
time.
go.
Yeah, no time for that.
Yeah, there's no point.
And when you had sent me back, kind of when I sent you some questions, and you had mentioned that you used to be super shy and fearful. So that's how your fear manifested, was kind of to withdraw and be quiet.
It was. I was very afraid to. For instance, if I was ever in a group, I would always beg not to be chosen. It was that. I just never wanted to be singled out in any way. That's just the way I was.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, what's going on in my life right now is the antithesis of that.
Oh, okay. So, he said, just turn it a little bit closer to your mic.
Sorry.
Like this. Just right up there.
Okay.
And then almost touch it like you're going to kiss it. Yeah. Or pull it back towards you a little bit. Just because mine's always right up on my mouth, and I'm like 10 octaves higher, louder than everyone else. Imagine that. Okay. So I'm going to show a few things. Will you tell me what this is? And these are just on paper. They're not printed out magnificently. So what is this?
This is an ad that I did I shot it in January in LA, and it's for Oliver Peoples, and they have showcased me in their campaign. And this photograph is absolutely everywhere. There are wild postings in Canada, in their Berlin store this last week. My niece was driving by and saw my face outside, and she just about crashed her car and sent me pictures. And it's
so sweet.
It's so sweet. And one of the things that I really love about this photograph in particular, the photographer's name was Brian Ingram, and he is really a fantastic portrait photographer. But I love how they did not retouch my face in any way. This is what I look like. I'm very proud of the way I look. I'm 63, and I just think it's fantastic, and
it's so sexy. It's so
it's
playful.
Me. They've captured the real me. That little sideline glance, that was just kind of like a sort of an accidental thing, behind the camera, and then that's what they picked, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
It's precious. So okay, and then this one.
Oh my gosh,
I love that so much. This is in Times Square, New
York. That was a photograph taken by my friend Temple in February. I had gone out to New York to shoot a campaign for Notori, which actually today just came out in the New York subway. And
cool.
But that is the Oliver Peoples billboard in Times Square, and that's me standing underneath it, just absolutely. Thrilled.
Out of 7 billion people, you are in Times Square for Oliver Peoples.
I know.
Your face was chosen in your heart and your soul. And there you are. And if you guys are listening to this on a podcast format that doesn't, of course, have video, you can see these photos on YouTube. And I'll probably post them somewhere as well. But so this is Gillean walking down the street in New York and stopping in front of her giant billboard and taking a picture.
I screamed when I saw that thing because it's digital, so it just kind of floats up, and there it was. And it's so ginormous. It's about 3 stories.
It's so big. Okay, so how did you go from being a fashion designer. And what's it called?
Stylist.
Thank you
really,
so
I'm a
much.
stylist, but I a lot of the jobs that I did, I would actually design and have clothes built. So
Stylist is even a sexier word. So I
Okay,
like that.
stylist.
Let's just stick with that one. So
Stylist
how
with
did you
an
go
S.
from becoming a stylist for other people to being I'm going to call it a supermodel if you're on 3-story building in Times Square?
Well, it was an interesting journey. There were a couple of occasions where I would be on set, and the clients would be whispering, and then someone would say, "Well, perhaps they weren't so satisfied with the talent that they had hired for the spot." And after they left, they would say, "Well, what about her?" Or this, and then after I was divorced, I dated a photographer for a short time, and he suggested that that I should actually be modeling and that he would shoot a portfolio for me. And so he did. And within a couple of weeks, I had an agent. And that process was easy for me because I knew so many casting directors in town from having been styling for 25 years. So it was sort of slow to start off. And I did a few campaigns. But when I was 60, I was chosen by H&M to be featured in a story wearing a swimsuit. And the photographer, Will Davidson, decided to shoot me without any hairstyling or any makeup. I mean, I literally tried on the bathing suit, and then he said, "Let's go." And so I said, I haven't been through hair and makeup.
Oh, no.
And he just said, "You don't need it." And so I just thought, well,
I've never
I don't
heard
need
that
it.
before from any model.
So off we went. And so a couple of months later, I woke up and my phone was just buzzing like crazy. It was just like all these Instagram followers and people reaching out and phone calls from all over the world. All of these beauty and fashion editors calling me from all of the magazines, like People, HuffPost, everywhere.
Oh, I love it
blogs
so
in
much.
Europe, blogs in Indonesia who found out that I had been born and raised in Indonesia, and now I was the granny, they called me, modeling in a swimsuit, and it was incredible, and it went viral. It was all over the world in about 20 seconds.
Oh my God. How can people follow you or see that? How can they follow you on Instagram?
It's Gillean McLeod.
Will you spell it?
GILLEAN MCLEOD.
McLeod is
Gillean
EOD?
McLeod. Yeah, EOD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's how it really started.
my
So from
gosh.
that point on, there was a lot more attention, and I've had some really, really tremendous campaigns. I'm now with LA Models here in LA, and then I'm with Iconic Focus in New York. And this year, I've already done so many great things. I did the Oliver Peoples, then I did Levi's, and then Notori, which just came out. And there's a thing I just did for Allure magazine with a very lovely makeup artist, Robin Black. That's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Was that the thing you booked when I was going to have you on before?
Yes.
And you're like, I just booked a job. I said, good for you. Go.
Yes.
That's so exciting. And what are you doing? You told me today.
I'm going to New York tomorrow to do Vogue Italia.
What on earth is happening?
I don't know, but I really love it.
I love it so much. And
I do
think,
too. And I really would love to be an ambassador for people to just make the most of your life. I mean, we're only here for a very short time. And
an ambassador for what?
just embrace yourself, what you can do. There's no end to the possibilities.
What really is inspiring me right now is that you and so many of my friends are going through this. This is like around the perfect age in your early 50s, where all of a sudden you go, I think my relationship might have run its course. And that kind of foundation that you thought you were going to die on crumbles. And then I like how you said that you were in your bed going, this is my first time alone, and sobbing for a year, like really feeling this pain and loss. And now, less than 10 years later, you're on the cover of, you're on the huge billboard in Times Square. And that is so beautiful to hear, because I know 2 gals right now who are going through beginning stages of divorce and who are petrified because they chose the role with their spouse of staying home with the kids while the spouse got to go travel and do his passions. And then now they're going, what? Like, I'm 50 and but what am I supposed to be doing? And it's so good to know that when you open yourself and you no longer live the story of lack or everything's wrong or bad. And you start going, all right, well, I'm ready for what's to come. And you're open that you can jump right in the flow and start making money and being flown to New York with the biggest brands in the world. It's amazing.
But there's an awful lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes to all of that too. And there's a lot of physical work and there's a lot of self-work that you have to do to change your life. I mean, it doesn't just,
No.
that's the thing. It doesn't just happen.
No.
These things. A lot of people say to me, "Oh, you're so lucky." Luck has absolutely nothing to do with my
It's
life.
your state of mind and your acceptance and your moving forward.
Yeah.
And probably your clear intention of what you want to do. And it's manifesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest work that we're here to do is within, hands down. Actually, it's the only work we're here to do. Things show up in front of us to teach us, to say you're on track, you're doing great, or to trigger us where we're like, I'm so mad at them. Oh, what is that hurting inside of me? Because this is a reflection of what's happening here.
I agree.
So as you open and as you step forward and as you lay down the old woe is me thoughts and you step into what will be, or I'm going to help co-create what will be. I actually have 50% in it. I like that, co-creating life as opposed to waiting to see what's going to happen to you.
And time goes quickly, and I can't believe that it's already been, 12 years since I my life changed. And I've accomplished a lot, but in some ways I also feel like I would like to make up some time lost.
Like making love to people or?
No, just
traveling
more, but I'm kind of behind in a few things, like maybe financially, I wish that I had done a little better, but it can't be helped. This is where I am right now. And
I also think too, that more abundance is coming for you. And I think that if you didn't have those, when you're like, I wish I would have done it this way, actually no, because what's coming for you.
Exactly.
And what you, the gratitude you're going to have because you have that other perspective, it means so much more. It's.
Well, I love the fact that I've kept on my house. It's a really lovely house. And all of the work that I do, I've earned all of this work. And
you have.
It's up to me to just continue it. And I've met so many amazing women along the way. I had a long conversation last night with a casting director who is so supportive of me. And I don't really know her very well, but when we were talking last night, she sort of opened a few more doors for me, and she showed me just a slightly different avenues that are not being explored for me right now. And I can't wait to meet her in real life next week to discuss what she has to say. And right now it's sort of private, but this is what I mean. It's like, just keep opening.
Swimming.
Just
keep swimming.
Open.
Also, I think
be receptive.
Be receptive.
You have to listen to people.
And I was talking the other day about looking up, because I'm a big believer that every single interaction is divine. Everyone we encounter. So I'm fully awake when I go into a grocery store. I'm like, let me see the people I need to touch. Let me receive from the people. And then I look at people when I'm passing them.
Is it you?
And then 2 days ago, I walked Fryman yesterday, actually, and I sat down to meditate, and there was a woman next to me, and the thoughts started coming in my head, like, she got here first, are you going to interrupt her? And I said, shut up, thoughts. And I just sat down. My dog sat down. She looked at me and said, I'm going to meditate for a few minutes. She's like, oh, so am I. And then we're both, what are you on? She's like, Insight Timer. I was like, so am I. And we start talking. And she teaches yoga, and I'm going to go take her class, and she's going to do one of my workshops.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Because we just looked at each other. It's like God provides just what you need to hear. Like a stranger can walk up and say something, you're like, no freaking way did that just happen. Then last night I met my girl for a drink. One of my best friends, my girl. I was coming out of the closet with you, but it's really with Jill Van Lokeren. So I met Jill for a couple drinks because she's been out of town for weeks, and she finished her drink before I finished mine. And she's like, I got to go, and left. I was like, all right. I was like, okay, God, why am I still here? Let me see who I needed to see. And I looked next to me, there was a man sitting by himself, and he looked at me and smiled sadly. And I saw that. Aww. I felt that. So I just smiled at him with a smile from my heart. And then he was like, oh, like he saw a little kindness. And we had the most beautiful conversation. And I learned from him, and I gave him some tips to kind of, or to flip his thinking on it, or his perspective. And then we had a little belly laugh, and I gave him a hug and laughed. And I was like, I don't even know what his name was, but I was meant to see him. We needed to feed each other a little bit. And I know that when you know that and you open, it's magical.
Yeah.
And you, after you got divorced, met that guy that you dated long enough for him to suggest what you're supposed to really be doing.
Yes.
And start you
and
on.
we're actually still friends. So it's we went out to the Integratron the other week and lay there for a sound bath. So it's nice. So it's a relationship that's, it's not a
no, it's a
we
forever.
don't date, but it's like a forever thing, and it's really fun.
It's so fun.
So just make friends with people.
Yes.
Let go and forgive and forget. And
Forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, not forget.
No, not forget. Forgive.
Forgive.
Yeah.
Forgive.
There's no
and
forgetting.
No, never forget.
Oh my gosh.
The one thing about forgiveness is, I think all it means is that you choose to be with yourself in a different way around the old thought. You no longer choose to use to beat yourself up or to hold yourself back or to point fingers. It happened. It doesn't mean you had to love it, but the acceptance and the forgiveness, so you can quit holding the hot coals.
Yeah, because it feels like just really stagnant energy if you don't forgive somebody, and it just sort of like living inside you, creating a bigger mess. So it's much better to just let it all go.
Let it go.
Yeah.
And realize that anything that we're triggered about or upset is about us.
I had this very strange audition the other day where I had to sit next to a man who got very uncomfortably close. And then the next thing I knew, he had his hand on my leg, and I felt just really, really uncomfortable. And I know that it registered on my face. And when I left, I was really mad. And then I went home and I wrote down all of the things that, why did this affect me so much? And it was because I finally figured it out. It was because I didn't let him know from the beginning that I wasn't comfortable being touched by a stranger who was half naked. And so these...
I'm sorry, but that sounds like heaven to me. I would be all into that.
Well, I wasn't.
I know most people wouldn't. No,
yeah,
but here.
But it triggered something in me, and it was just like it was probably fear again. Like there were lots of incidences in my past where people would make unsolicited advances towards me, and
But what I really heard was that you remembered how you didn't cry and how you didn't get to speak your mind and how you didn't want to be seen and how you withdrew, and then you got triggered, not because he did something horrific or something really really horrible, but you got triggered with that because it was at you for not standing up for yourself.
Yes, exactly.
For not remembering how powerful you are.
That's right. You have to speak up.
And how much your voice matters.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of times what happens is we get mad at that person. But it's like, oh, wait a second. What? You know what I mean? It's so easy to blame and push it and point on other people. But I love that. I teach a thing, ownership. It's like owning your shit to a happy life.
Excellent. Yes.
It's not about this. It's all here. Any upset you have, like I don't ever say it to anyone, but I'm like, shit's going to happen every day. How are you going to be with yourself as you move through it? That's it.
Yeah.
When people are like, you're mean, you cut me off, and you're like, sorry, it didn't take me 80 minutes, and I can't remember what we're talking about. Somebody's always mad at me because I don't quite do things right, but I've let go of caring about that. I just enjoy myself. And if I walk away and people are constantly mad, I'm like, sorry. People get really offended if you don't remember their name.
I'm finding it difficult to remember people's names, and it's hard to introduce people when you're at parties and things. Now it's like, oh, do you guys know each other?
That's all I ever say. Even to unless they're like my best friends, I always just, every time I see someone, I just go, hi, friend.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I like you. Yeah. And your name means nothing to me because I can't retain that, but I know your face and your heart. Yeah. And yeah. Why are you trying to kick my new shoe?
Well, I want to get the energy off your Cinderella slippers.
What is your
I have silver on too.
Are
but mine
those
are
Birkenstocks?
They are.
Well, they're hip ones.
Yeah, they are. They're Rick Owens.
I don't even know. You know what's so funny? I don't know who anyone is.
Well, we'll sit down one day and we'll just
School
go through
me,
all of them.
please. Yeah. I'm like, all I know is like, oh my gosh, this is $300 and now $75. I'll take
That's
it.
right. When they're on sale, it's always a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, I do like that. And I also, it's funny because I have my purse over there, Louis Vuitton, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I've always wanted one. And I actually got a real one, I think, on my 40th birthday or Christmas, something from my husband. It's a smaller one than that. And then my friend said that she had a great knockoff lady, which I have two feelings about. One, because I'm not supporting the real brand. And two, I like the idea of it because I don't have to pay $1,000. I can pay $100. Right. And it looks similar. But anyway, when I carry that and people look at me like, she's rich. I'm like, it's a knockoff. Like I, for some reason, don't want people to think that, even though we do well, but we're not in a mansion. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we have 5 kids and that's where all of our money goes.
Yeah.
And help for me. So I can do the things that I love as well. But then my husband got me this bracelet, this diamond bracelet.
It's beautiful.
Well, he has never bought me. Thank you so much. You're a dialect coach as well. And so I put this on and I hid it. I was so embarrassed. I don't know why. It's so interesting. I think it's because I don't have a connection to money stuff. I don't really give a shit, if that makes sense. But then I did want that fake one.
But it's a very beautiful bracelet.
It's beautiful.
And it's nice that you're wearing it with all of the other things, with your watch, your Apple Watch.
That's fake.
It's lovely.
That's a knockoff too.
Oh.
Because I don't believe in spending for me a lot of money. But I would like to get something like a nice pair of shoes.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you were going through my closet, you were like, you have a lot of boots. Oh, look at these boots. Oh, because I buy from Sorrel and they're all these just like slip-on wedge clunky
Well, I was
shoes.
a bit worried because a lot of them looked the same.
They're all the
I was
same.
thinking, how can you, well, you know, like it's good to have different shapes.
Yeah. I found one shoe and I got it in every color and it's a slip-on wedge boot. And I just love them so much. But I realized like, I don't like high heels because you can't walk in them.
Yeah, me neither. I
walk like a man.
No, I walk. Yeah, I did a runway show where I was just kind of falling over because my heels were so high, and then I looked at a video of me afterwards. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe they let me out like that. I can't walk in high heels, so
I can't either. These I can.
Those are I mean that's
because they're like, what are they? I can't see with
like
my like.
They're not quite kitten heels, but they're they're like a 1.5. Yeah.
And I was like, I can walk in these. I felt like a really beautiful woman. Instead of like a man in my wedges. But I'm kind of masculine. So.
No,
a little bit with I think I have a balance.
I think so. I mean, you know, you have a tough exterior. Like you come across as but you know, we know the inside of you now from having been in your closet.
I have a tough exterior. Oh, just kind of, I know what that means.
I mean,
kind of powerful and loud and like.
No, it's
Andrew
like you
Dice
know what
Clay.
you're doing. You're decisive. You know, it's great.
Yeah, I do have I am unapologetically who I am.
Yes,
and I'm having
wonderful.
A blast that way.
Yeah,
because sometimes things come out of my pie hole in my squirrel brain and pop out, and I, like the next person, am like, wow, surprised or a little put off, but I observe that. But I don't even try and correct it anymore. I was just like, that's how I'm wired, but I'm trying to become more aware and more of the observer. And I'm kind of enjoying that part of me. When before I constantly apologize for it. Now I think there's a childlike sweetness to it because it's never based in mean-spirited. It's always, my heart is always involved in things. So I'll say things, I was like, that sounded fucked up. And then I'm like, that's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay. And I also realize if people get very offended, that's not about me. It's about them going home and going, what about that interaction triggered my old stuff? Where did I get triggered? Where did that come from? Like you did with that that guy.
But it was interesting to write it all down and look at it. And then I reread it a few times, and I finally figured out why it made me so mad. And it was, as you say, I didn't speak up.
Yeah. Because I would say, move your ass over and get your hand off my lap. And I would say it loud. I remember once being at a nail salon with my daughters. They had like a summer dress on. And one was sitting there, one was over there. And I saw this man, he's probably like 62. And I just saw him kept going like this. Like glancing over there. I was like, what the hell is that guy glancing at? I looked over. It was my daughter's underwear.
Oh, no.
And I said, Sandy, the head of the salon, could you please get 2 towels because this man is looking at my daughter's underwear. And
wow.
Sandy gave them towels and then came over and whispered, stop it. Because I always talk to people in her salon. Normally it's loving, but she was like, stop it. Don't scare my customers. And I said,
oh, did he heard you though?
Oh, he heard me.
And he stopped?
He didn't
or
act like
was he embarrassed?
He didn't act like he heard me.
Okay.
And then because Sandy was across and he was 2 chairs from me.
Yeah.
And then Sandy told me, stop it. I said, no, you have a pervert in this place and I'm not going to allow him to victimize my daughter. Hell no, I'm not going to stop it. If he stops, I won't say another thing. He did stop. And then when I left, I said, if I ever see that again, I'm calling the cops. And he was like, what's wrong with you? And I go, I don't know, but I am.
Well, good for you for sticking up for the girls. I mean, loudly and in public, which is what I think what people really need to do.
With everything.
With everything.
To just speak their minds, not in a horrific way. I mean, mine was kind of horrific, but I saw it. It was clear as day to me what was happening. Because I'm not a mom who was helicopter, or I want my kids to have their life experience without me trying to shape it. I did that with my first one. It didn't go so well. So I kind of learned to back off. And if they're completely out of the box or doing stuff I would never do, right on. I don't have to try and make them be more normal.
Mm-hmm.
My littlest one, did you meet Eve, the youngest one?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you might today when you leave, because I think they get out early today.
I met 2 of your boys. No, yes, 2 of your boys.
A tall boy and
tall boy and a smaller boy.
Yeah.
And then I met your lovely tall daughter.
Oh, Margot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. So my youngest one, Eve, all of my kids are they're all tall and slender and whatever. And then Eve is in 2nd grade and she reminds me of Chris Farley. Do you know who that is? He was on SNL and he's dead, but he's going, ah! And he'd just fall on things and break it. That's Eve, a tiny bit. And she'll kick in the door and she's like, she doesn't care. And we were at a pool party and Eve had a little bikini on and she's got a belly. And she had just gotten out of the pool and someone gave her an ice cream and she's licking it and it's dripping down onto her belly. And it's splitting, with the water, just like white streams going down her stomach. And I'm just looking at her, enjoying it. And then a girl walks up who had like a really frilly, she looked like a little ballerina. And she was like, why is your stomach so fat? And Eve literally looked down, saw the ice cream, licked it. She's like, I don't know. I guess it's just me. And then she threw it in the trash and dove in the pool with complete abandon. She didn't cry or say she called me fat or anything. She just goes like this, I don't know, it's just me. Like, this is all of me.
Yeah,
and I was like,
acceptance.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's the first person I've ever known who knows who they are when they were
so
born.
early, though. Yeah, in life. I mean, it took me years to figure out who
me
I was.
Too. Until I had my cry fit around 30 and got to melt all the stuff and get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
That's funny because I was a tomboy and I wore jeans and tough skins and T-shirts and got in fistfights in elementary school. I didn't even know I liked makeup and sparkly stuff and until I got in my 30s and 40s. I was like, oh, there's a whole creative person inside there.
Yeah, I liked makeup a lot when I was about 16. I used to sit all of my sisters down in a row and practice on them. It was really fun.
How many sisters?
I have 2 sisters and a younger brother. All of them are younger, 2 sisters and a brother. And they all live in Europe.
Are they all as pretty as you?
Oh, well, thank you. I think they are, yes.
They are?
Yeah.
So you're one of those kind of cute families?
We had very cute parents.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they were my mother actually used to model for Bergdorf's when she was living in New York right after university, back when they used to have floor models.
Oh, how cool.
So
That's amazing. And that's funny that you were already doing their makeup then, because I think you get clues in your childhood where you're going to go. And you were already designing and fashion and
oh, I always loved
styling.
clothes, and my mother had impeccable taste with clothes, and she loved Saint Laurent and Pucci and all of
I've heard of Poochie.
one of those wonderful sort of like 60s, fashions
Yeah.
and stuff. I remember her always being very well dressed and put together, and she never left the house without, it was the era without lipstick. That she was that sort of mom, dressed up.
But there's something cool about that. I mean, I know whatever, there's things that come with it as well that might not be so cool, but there's something cool about seeing your polished, put together mother go into the world, even though sometimes she wasn't at home.
Yeah.
Right.
No, she was, it became more pronounced, her mental illness as we were teenagers. It sort of really came to a head. So
That's my mom too. But she was always kind of in her bedroom, but then she got progressively worse.
mhm.
And then my dad used to take care of her, so he would, when we were all gone, like her room, oh my goodness gracious. I mean, you could work on 1-inch corner in her room for a day. Like it became almost like hoarder stuff.
Oh Lord.
And there was like a trail to her bed and to the bathroom, and he would make her breakfast in the morning, help her to the bathroom, come home, make her lunch, come home, make her dinner. He was like her caretaker, but that's what he signed on for, kind of, because they were equally had their stuff.
Yeah. Mine was so different. My dad was always at work, and he was, kind of high up in his company. And I think that my mother's mental illness was of great embarrassment to him, and I don't think he really knew how to deal with it. And also in the 70s, that was a real stigma. People locked people away in institutions.
Yeah.
She refused any kind of medication or help in any way, but consequently she suffered a great deal.
Oh my gosh, my mother suffered to the end with it.
Yeah, my poor mom used to think that people were actually like living in her closets and chasing her and stuff, and so she was incredibly fearful.
Oh.
And so I look back on it now and realize that when I was 30, I wasn't quite as forgiving as I am now, and I think possibly that I was more like my dad at that time. But now that I'm older and obviously a lot wiser, and I've come in contact with a lot of people who are mentally ill, you just are more aware of what it really
so much
is
compassion.
like. Much more compassion for people, and I understand why she wouldn't want to be drugged to the eyelids too. She was trying to live a life, and she had children. She had 4 teenage children. So I don't know. I guess I just look back and I just think she just did the best she can. And
well, that's it. It's when we think someone should be something that they're not.
Yeah.
When we think they should live their life in a different way. When we think, what? They are doing the best they can where they are.
That's true of just about everybody. And that's what I tell myself every single day when I wake up. I just said, you're just going to do the best you can. And
I'm just going to be on another billboard.
Yeah. Well, no, it's actually one thing I say to myself every
kidding.
Single morning when I first wake up, you're going to do the best you can.
Yes.
Every single day I tell myself that. And that's all I can do is just day by day and just
minute
see what
by
happens. Minute
right?
by minute.
I mean,
I could be doing something really crazy on Monday. I have no idea what that might be.
Tightrope walking with me in New York.
Yes.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yes. Or we'll go to Malaysia together for a really nice holiday. Or National Geographic has a trip to Borneo right now that would be really amazing.
Wait.
What?
How many workshops do I have to sell to get to there?
I don't know, but I think we should go.
And that's a new thing I just started. Oh, I'll go with you.
Okay.
Anywhere.
All
I
right.
love to travel so much. I love especially warm weather, but I'm happy to go anywhere. Just putting that out there.
Okay.
If you have something fun coming up, throw it past me. But that's something I just started doing too, because I'm now really allowing myself and what I do to soar and to make money. And instead of going, oh, I can't do that, I don't have it, I go, what things do I need to do to bring in that abundance so I can do what I want?
Mm-hmm.
And I just started in this kind of new way of thinking, which is really exciting because I don't have to wring my hands and go, I hope Dave says okay that I spend this amount of money going somewhere. I'm like, I'll freaking make it.
Well, that's the one thing about being by yourself. I've lived by myself for 12 years, and every decision that I make is my decision, and every place I want to go, I want to go there, and I'm going. Or it's really nice, and it's empowering. As a I don't
It's
know.
empowering to go from the mindset, I hope, or of lack to
I will.
I can, I am.
Well, I am.
I am creating the money to go on that trip on that date. I will have it.
Yep.
And then for me to think too, like, oh wait, I could do a workshop in where did you say you were going?
Malaysia,
In Malaysia. Where is Malaysia?
Southeast Asia.
It sounds like a bunch of different little islands. Is that
No, that's Indonesia. Malaysia is a
Indonesia.
peninsula right below Thailand, and then Singapore sits at the bottom of it.
Oh, where is Japan in comparison to that?
North.
Not far or really far?
Far, like a 4 or 5 hour flight.
So that's
No,
not near
7-hour flight.
Guam or anything like that.
No.
Okay. All right. I'll look at a map.
Yeah.
Maybe in a few days. I'll have a look to see what that area is. If you wanted to impart a word of wisdom or something that is in your toolkit from that therapist that you liked a long time ago that you bring out quite often and use to conquer your fear or whatever, can you think of anything like that?
I can. I think the greatest thing I learned from her was self-acceptance. And I think that all women should accept the way they are. I'm saying that we can make changes within ourselves, but really you are who you are. And especially, I don't know, I have this thing about this anti-aging thing that I find so annoying. I find the actual term itself so annoying, and everybody ages. And it's whether or not you come to terms with the fact that you are going to age and your face is going to change and your body's going to change. It's going to happen.
And for you,
And
it's changing for the better.
Well, I feel I'm just very comfortable with myself, and a lot of my model friends say that they admire me because I don't do a lot. I don't do anything to my face. I'm just me, and I'm happy being me, and that's why I really, really love that Oliver Peoples picture so much, and I'm really proud of it. It's just like that's what a
all of you.
63-year-old person looks like.
I love that.
Yeah.
And another thing I've come to, and we talked a little bit about this when you were sitting on my floor looking at shoes with
In
me.
your closet.
In my closet. We're back in the closet. I remember you talked about growing old gracefully and just letting you be who you are, or your, whatever it comes, just being in acceptance of it, which reminds me of Byron Katie, because she always says, being at peace with what is.
Yes. I mean, that's really it. That's the complete sentence right there.
Yeah. And then I said to you, my perspective of aging gracefully is knowing fully who I am, enjoying who I am, and allowing myself to tweak my temporary earth suit if I want to. That doesn't mean I'm not doing it gracefully. I'm doing it gracefully as Leigh, and you're doing it gracefully as Gillean.
Exactly.
But we both know at the core of who we are, and we're at peace with that. Because somebody was like, "Will you get Botox?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I get Botox. I like a 36-year-old forehead," but I don't think a lot about this really, because this is so temporary.
Yeah.
It's just for a minute, and it's like if you buy a new pair of jeans, you want to tweak it a little bit,
Yeah,
so
of
they
course.
fit you better.
Yeah.
Why not? But it's not who I am, and it's not like obsessive. But I do think if you want to color your hair, if you want to get Botox, if you want. Do what the hell you want. This is your life and your time on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't think that that's who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
You do?
I do.
So you don't judge me for having Botox?
No, I don't judge any. I really, really try not to judge anybody.
For
I try to
anything.
take people the way they are, and I just believe that everybody does the best they can.
Oh gosh. And that's right.
And actually, maybe not even that, but as long as I just feel like if people are just kind to other human
That's
beings,
it.
that's all that really matters.
That's
it.
it.
I sometimes I overhear conversations of young women, tearing down someone that they see in a restaurant, or why does she do that? And look at those awful clothes. And I just think, why is that even on your radar? Why is that so important for you to just be so dismissive of somebody else who's just Out there
Sitting
getting
there.
a cup of coffee.
Just sitting there. Yeah, I agree with you. It's being at peace with what is the most beautiful way to live, because you're not making anyone wrong. You're not blaming others if they trigger. You get triggered. Oh gosh, it feels so good to accept people how they are. Because the second you judge someone, you're judging yourself.
Exactly.
And
And then, and you know, I mean, everybody's human, and we do go there to judge people, but then I try to rein it in. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you thinking this way about somebody? And it's usually about yourself. Exactly.
Always.
As you said.
It's
Yeah.
always, anytime someone judges another person, they're suffering.
Yeah.
And they're trying to spit it out on someone else.
Or it's something that
Or
they
they feel
don't like about
inadequate.
themselves. And so then they can, you know, you can always spot something that you don't like about yourself in somebody else. It's
I was in some class, and this girl kept getting up and talking. I was like, she's getting up again. My gosh, she's trying to be so funny. And I was getting so judgmental, and I was like, okay, what about this triggers me? I think I'm mad that I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? I was like, what is it?
Yeah.
Why am I so mad that she's standing out and speaking her mind? And I was like, I don't know if it's because I wasn't doing it, or the way she was doing it. I sometimes do it and I don't like what I'm seeing.
right.
Yeah, but whatever it is, it's something coming from you. It's never about the other person. They just show up to teach you about you.
Exactly.
That's how you can even appreciate people who piss you off. Oh, they're showing me I have work to do.
There's an app that I listen to at night when I can't sleep, and that's I think it's called Gratitude or something, and it does mention that the person that annoys you the most is triggering whatever it is that, you know, you have to find out what that is and let that go.
Yeah, that it's showing up in them, from them, as a gift to you to heal.
Exactly. I'm sorry, I wasn't very articulate.
No,
about
you
that.
weren't. I was really going to help you. I mean, you're a real great looking gal.
But you can't
And
talk.
you've lived in exotic places.
But really, could you shut up?
Okay, wait, let me see if I want to. Do you want to plug anything or tell people to go look at stuff of yours?
Well, I would love for them to look at my Instagram. I have my Instagram's a nice combination of my work life, and then, you know, like I throw in those throwback Thursdays of life, you know, life in Malaysia, and I don't know. That's
Oh, I can't wait to look. I haven't looked yet.
okay. Well,
I'm going
I'll show
to.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, show me
In fact,
after.
today is Thursday, so maybe I'll find a really nice throwback Thursday picture from my childhood and slot that in there.
I'm not sure about that. I might have you like put a picture of us instead or something. I'm not sure yet. I don't want to like take over your Instagram, but I think we should have a chat before you make a concrete decision on what you're posting.
I would love to put a picture of us on my Instagram today.
Oh my gosh.
And then we can put some in my stories as well.
Oh, I would love that. Okay, I want to do one little promotion for me.
Okay.
This is kind of awkward. This isn't how you're supposed to do it, but
Do
someone
it.
told me I had to do it. We're going to have in the description box on this podcast, we're going to have the little link that you can sign up for my upcoming virtual workshops, 4 of them coming up, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And they all feed into each other, and they're very powerful and easy, and you just log on for them. You can also text Leigh. Oh, no, you can text 44222 and then type in all caps Leigh, Leigh 33. And I'm going to send you one word to kick to the curb that will change your life. And subscribe to my podcast, because then you're going to see beautiful people like Gillean.
Hi.
Hey, thank you for coming.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I love talking to you. I really do. I'm
do
so glad that I met
too.
you. It was really fun.
I'm so glad. See how the universe supports you, that I signed up on a piece of paper, even when I felt vulnerable, because I knew I had like a bunch of stuff in there that I haven't worn, and 10 t-shirts that were gray and a bunch of man boots. But anyway, I was like, I'm going to sign up for that because, and I didn't use it until it was the right moment for us to meet.
Yes, exactly.
And then we get to have a new beautiful friendship, and I'm going to come lay with you and your old boyfriend in the next sound bath.
Okay. That sounds great.
All right, great. Thank you, darling. Now I want to
Thank
hug
you.
you. Are you open to hugs?
Oh, I like hugs.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, we're good. Oh, sweetheart. Thank you.
Thank you.